Welcome back to the morning news of movies, of things that we talk about here. There wasn't one yesterday. I did not get a chance to record one. I did keep the news that I had assembled for it though, so we have quite a bigger, quite a bigger. I can't speak properly apparently, but we have a bigger slate of news to talk about today. So I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm just going to get straight into it. The first big thing is all the delays. The delays coming from everywhere. We have Black Widow, which was moved to November, originally from May 1st this year. That was its pre pandemic date. And it is now going to be May 7th, 2021. So Disney are not interested in putting out their big movies until theaters are back. Maybe not 100% like capacity and openings, but certainly they don't want to be releasing it in the current climate. And that has had a knock on effect in all the other Marvel movies. Eternals was supposed to be in February this coming year. That's going to be November 5th, 2021. And then Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was supposed to be on May 7th. So Black Widow's taken its date and been pushed back to July 9th, 2021. Now, July 9th was also a date that was another Marvel movie, but it was not announced as of yet what that movie was supposed to be. I don't suppose it matters much anymore. I guess the speculation might have been the next Spider-Man, but it doesn't really matter because obviously it's not been made. So that's May, Black Widow, July, Shang-Chi, November, Eternals as the current plan. So it's actually crazy that we were supposed to be just a couple months away at the start of the year from Eternals, and now it's going to be like near the end of next year now. So hey ho, but that's just the Marvel stuff. There's more things going on. The King's Man, which is the Kingsman prequel, which has been already been pushed back multiple times before there was any pandemic. It was supposed to be coming out on February 26th, and it's actually moved forward now to Eternal's original date of February 26th, 2021. So it's almost like they're just kind of shitting that out when they don't really expect things to be completely back to normal yet, which is maybe not a good sign for it. It is worth mentioning that is a Fox movie. That was a Fox movie that is now under Disney's reign, so maybe they don't have as much confidence in it. And it's actually kind of weird seeing the 20th Century Studios instead of 20th Century Fox here. Very interesting. But we have a bunch of other dates that come out of this news between the Fox and Disney properties, all obviously from Disney. Death on the Nile, which is the Kenneth Branagh directed ensemble movie, has sequel to Murder on the Orient Express from a couple of years ago. That has been moved from October 23rd to December 18th. However, they are pushing forward a film called The Empty Man to that October 23rd date, which was originally meant to be December 4th. So again, maybe this is another one that they're not super confident in, that they're okay crapping out. Because keep in mind, they did technically just crap out the New Mutants after several delays. So they're not scared to waste some of some of the films they maybe don't feel as passionate about, let's say. But we also have West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg directed remake of the musical, which has moved from December 18th to December 10th, 2021. It's not surprising. I mean, there's a couple of big movies trying to do it this year before the end. I mean, Warner Brothers are still promising us Dune and Wonder Woman. I'm not convinced that those will come out. Not both of them. I think Wonder Woman will get pushed again. Dune, they might try and put it out kind of like Tenet in the sense that it's a bit more prestige. The nerds are all excited for it, but not just the superhero nerds, like the film nerds and the sci-fi nerds. Like maybe they're hoping that that'll also have the critical backing to keep it around for a long time and sort of recoup over months of playing, kind of like Tenet is kind of doing right now, which just hit I think 250 million worldwide, which would be very low for it in a normal circumstance, but in this current circumstance is probably uh, okay, I guess. I don't know. It depends. I mean, because it's still playing. They still get tons of showings everywhere because there's nothing else big coming out. So we'll see. But that is the delays. Next up, so we just have a bunch of movies to talk about now in production or casting's been done or so and so on. First up, Warner Bros. Is putting a Father of the Bride remake into production with a Latinx family. So they're going full reboot with this. Matt Lopez is penning the script. This is the third retelling of the story, which obviously started in 1950. And of course, the one that most people know from our generation is the Steve Martin version from 1991, which had a sequel. So this is actually the third version of it. I'll be honest, I didn't know that that one was a remake. At least if I did, I'd forgotten about it. So maybe I did know it. But so this is attempt number 3. If you don't know the plot of Follow the Bride, it's here's the official description here. It'll tell the story of a father coming to grips with his daughter's upcoming wedding through the prism of multiple relationships within the big, sprawling Cuban American family. It will be more of a rom-com than the previous versions of the film, which doesn't particularly sound all that enticing to me, but not that I'm a big fan of the Steve Martin one. I saw it, like, it was one of those movies that was on TV a lot. Like, I think I saw that movie, like, probably half a dozen times between the ages of, like, say, 8 and 14, just because it was on cable all the time back when I, would browse movie channels and whatever. But I think I saw the sequel once. I think. Maybe. I vaguely remember it because it's about the daughter having a kid. I think I saw that. Next up, we have Bittersweet, which is coming from the Kill the Irishman team. Which, not that I really know what that is, admittedly. But Jeremy Walters and Tommy Reed, the writer and producer behind the true life mobster drama Kill the Irishman, are going to be working on the film. It follows an unassuming ex cop who is mistaken for an infamous mob hitman. Hitman? Hitman? A hitman. Maybe they should say it like that. It's kind of like how the olden days you would say robot instead of robot. A robot. A hitman. Let's make it happen, folks. Let's start getting hitman going. It becomes entangled in a mystery to hunt the men who brutally murdered his wife. This sounds very generic, I have to admit. And, the whole mob boss movie that they did before, I don't necessarily like the sound of mobster dramas typically. Every so often there's one that'll rise above because it's so well made, but I'm not particularly excited by the concept on their own. And, some of the loved ones I'm not that into as a rule. I don't necessarily love Goodfellas as much as other people. I think it's a good movie, but I don't love Goodfellas. Just as this one of the most obvious examples. Next up, Mickey Rourke is signing up for a film called The Commando, not to be confused with the Arnold Schwarzenegger Commando from 1985. It's going to shoot in New Mexico next month, so this is another pandemic shooting film. So Mickey Rourke, known for many a thing, of course. Perhaps the most liked thing I have for him is The Wrestler, which I thought was a very good film by Aronofsky. But this is going to be directed by Asif Akbar and follows a DEA agent with PTSD who returns home after a botched mission and must now protect his family from a newly released prison criminal played by Rourke, and his henchmen who have come after a stash of millions inside the agent's house. Okay, so it's kind of a night of tension as he's on the way to the house, and I mean, I assume that it's not a case of they know he's going there and there's not just time to get the family out, because otherwise, why would you keep the family there? I presume that the circumstances mean that he kind of has to sort of try and protect them all on his own because it's kind of a siege movie with no contact with the outside world or something to that effect. So, I mean, I think on premise this sounds like it could be okay. Admittedly, this is the sort of thing where this sounds much better as an 80s movie than it does a present day movie. Most likely this is going to be mediocre, just because most movies of this type now are mediocre. The glory days of when Commando came out, ironically, are behind us, and this is maybe not the time period for it. But hey, you never know. Next up, Netflix, in a $30 million deal, has acquired the worldwide rights to The Guilty, with Jake Gyllenhaal starring in it and Antoine Fuqua directing. It's a dramatic thriller based on the Gustav Moller-directed Danish drama Den Skidlige. I probably butchered that. Apologies. But that came out in 2018. And Netflix grabbed this up. The script for this is actually from True Detective creator Nick Pizzolatto. So that's actually... it sounds good on paper, but it's actually potentially really bad because I think the writing in True Detective wasn't that great, especially in season 2, which was terrible. So, yeah, it takes place over the course of a single morning in a 911 dispatch call center. Call operator Joe Baylor, played by Gyllenhaal, tries to save a caller in grave danger, but he soon discovers that nothing is as it seems, and facing the truth is the only way out. Sounds very cellular. I do like the idea of it all taking place in a single morning. I'm always a sucker for that type of premise. But and Anton Fuqua is not a bad director by any means, and Jake Gyllenhaal is obviously a very good actor. These names aren't bad. I'm not convinced by the writer, but it's going to be there essentially for free on Netflix, except for the fact that you have to pay for Netflix, I suppose. But so many of us are just used to Netflix being there now that it feels like a constant in our lives that will never leave. That said, though, I don't actually watch that many Netflix original movies because most of them look kind of bland. And even with these names attached, I could see this being very bland. So we'll see. But anyway, that's called The Guilty. Next up, Amazon Studios, Make Ready, the production company that worked on Queen and Slim, are teaming up to develop The Jealousy Man, which is based on a novel by Norwegian crime author Joe Nesbo. William Oldroyd has been tapped to direct the film, best known for the Toronto International Film Festival drama Lady Macbeth, which earned him some awards. Jersey Man, set on a remote Greek island, tells a story of twin brothers caught in a violent love triangle, and the detective known as the Jealousy Man is called in to investigate. That's not a lot to go on. The Jealousy Man. So are the two brothers, are they in the love triangle? Is it two twin brothers and someone else in the love triangle? Yeah, the Jealousy Man. Is it, I assume this detective is someone who always deals with crimes of passion, and that's why he got the nickname the Jealousy Man. I don't know. Moving on, we've got a lot to talk about today, so I'm just going to keep going. So Universal Pictures has landed the film, an untitled drama, with David Leitch directing. Ryan Gosling is going to star in it. And this is a stuntman film. So, because Leitch himself was a stuntman and transitioned into being a director. Unfortunately, there's not actually much of a description to go on here other than he's playing a stuntman. So, we're just going to have to see until we get more information on this. But Ryan Gosling obviously is a notable enough name to get people excited. So, next up, Olivia Munn has joined a new film. She's going to play the lead in a drama called Aleppo, a story of a Syrian refugee and a UN journalist, played by Munn, brought together by the tragedy and their escape from Syria. So, yeah, pretty straightforward and to the point, as far as the description goes. So, yeah, we have like an attached like art director, Bridget Brock, and a couple others, but no director as of. Yeah. Oh no, we do have a director. Sorry, Brazilian filmmaker David Sherman is doing this. Who I actually don't know. I don't know who this is. Have I ever seen Olivia Munn in a leading role? All I can think of that she's been in movie wise is Predator or The Predator and X-Men Apocalypse. So maybe she can be a leading lady. I have no idea though. I've never seen her in anything that would actually show me that she has those chops, but that might not be her fault necessarily. So we'll see. And it sounds like a very serious film that's, like escaping Syria. I don't imagine this is going to be a light-hearted, cheery action adventure. It would certainly be a really weird tone to take. So we'll see. We'll see. Next up. So, Screen Media has acquired the US rights to Girl. That's right, just the word girl. It's a thriller written and directed by Chad Faust and stars Bella Thorne and Mickey Rourke. Oh, Mickey Rourke again, like that. He's all over the place this past couple of days. I was going to say this week. We do this supposedly daily, although I missed yesterday. Apologies. So this is coming. Thorne plays a woman. She's only known as Girl, so she has no character name, which is sometimes something that writers will do for a thematic reason. Kind of like how well, not everyone's seen Tenet yet. I'll just say there's a character in Tenet who doesn't technically have a name. Same idea. So, Thorne plays a woman who returns to her small hometown to exact revenge on her abusive father, only to discover someone murdered him the day before. As she searches for answers, she soon finds herself prey to a sinister sheriff, played by Mickey Rourke, and uncovers a disturbing family legacy more disturbing than she's imagined. Given how much I butcher these paragraphs, I'm not one to talk, but I feel like using the word disturbing twice in that sentence didn't really work. It sounded kind of weak. Uncovers a disturbing family legacy more disturbing than she'd imagined. It doesn't sound... Because sometimes you repeat a word because it sounds like a good wordplay, but I don't think it works in this sentence. Well, one thing you'll get to know, if you've never seen me do the TV news, or you're just starting to like find this through the movie news that I'm doing now, is that half of these stories ends up in me critiquing how they've written their synopsis when I disagree with how they've done this. That was a cool thing, by the way. But the fellow Mark Spouse directorial debut. So there you go. Honestly, it's hard to get a gauge on this one. I don't know what to really make of it. So many of these movie announcements, when they give you these like little synopsises, that they're so generic sounding on paper, and some of them will end up being really good because the director will have this great vision, or it'll have all the filmmaking that goes into it will make it great. But so many of them just sound really simple and generic from the raw material itself. So that is Girl. Next up, Ice Cube is teaming with Universal again, and he's going to be an untitled, grounded sci-fi movie, which unfortunately means that me and Tara might have to review it on the Atomic Cinema Experiment, our science fiction movie podcast. Check it out. But yeah, so Patrick Aiello and Timur Bekmambetov, I'm probably butchering these names, they're producing. Rich Lee will direct from a script by Kenneth Gold. So, yeah, interesting. So, yeah, here we go. Apparently, this was a really intriguing pickup for the studio. And the thing that really sold them on it was the technology that they'd been fine-tuning ever since signing a 5-picture deal with the studio. So, the format here, the presentation, is that the production had a look of a commercial event film, but at the budget of a contained thriller. The new technology will allow for fully remote production with all actors and crew working from their individual separate locations. That sounds perfect for a pandemic. if they're going to like just remote control the equipment. I mean, it says in the article here, if Ice Cube wants to his part to shoot from his home, it could be done without a problem with the crew working from somewhere else. This is weird. So what that tells me is that this got picked up because, oh hey, we can shoot this quite easily. This is a safe thing to do right now. We don't have to go through a lot of those other precautions that all the other movies are going to have to do with the pandemic. That's really weird. The shoot will be the first of its kind at this scope, and is not only done at a lower budget, but will also provide safe working environments for studios to achieve during the pandemic. Yeah, this is a weird one. Not much of a description. It says the plot details are vague, other than it's been described as a grounded sci-fi film in the vein of District 9, and it involves themes of privacy versus surveillance. I'm intrigued. I don't actually think it's going to be good, but I'm intrigued. Next up, Michelle Monaghan is going to star in Blood, which is directed by Brad Anderson. So, yeah, Will Honley wrote the script, which follows Jess, played by Monaghan, a separated mother and nurse who moves with her daughter and young son, Owen, back into her old family farmhouse. Shortly after settling in, Owen is bitten by the family dog, resulting in a mysterious infection from the bite. When Jess discovers a disturbing cure, she is tested on the extent she'll go to keep her child alive. This sounds like a painfully generic movie about a parent trying to save their kid in a borderline horror movie that will probably upset me. And I know Brad Anderson's got some cred with some people. I wasn't super in. I think he did The Machinist, if I remember right. I wasn't super into that movie. I thought it was like a really kind of cheap attempt to try to do a movie with a twist that felt like it was just aping several other movies, and Christian Bale put his all into it for sure, but I wasn't that into it. I didn't like how the movie looked or felt. Was not super into that film, so Assuming that's what Brian Anderson did, and I'm not misremembering, but I think he did. Next up, we get a film called The True Adventures of Wolf Boy. Vertical Entertainment's acquired it. The deal here. So, The True Adventures of Wolf Boy stars Jaden Martell, who was in both Knives Out and It. I assume that's It Chapter 1 with a little bit of It Chapter 2 for flashbacks because of the ages and all that. So it's a kid actor. John Turturro's in there as well. A bunch of other people. Written by Olivia Dufault. The drama. It's a drama? The Adventures of the Wolf Boy is a drama? Drama follows Paul, who lives an isolated life with his father in upstate New York. He finds making friends impossible due to a rare condition he has known as the congenital hypertrichosis. I think that's right. An affliction that causes an abnormal amount of hair growth all over his face and body. On his 13th birthday, Paul receives a mysterious gift that compels him to run away and seek out the mother he has never known. Okay, interesting. So, when they say wolf boy, they do mean a boy that just has a lot of hair, as opposed to an actual wolf boy. Honestly, it sounds like something that could actually be a really touching story with the right deft touch. With the right style of and approach. I could see this actually being quite a little heartwarming little tale of someone who's different from everyone else and really do something with that. So we'll see. Which does take us on finally to the last story of today in what is bound to be a 30-minute give or take episode of what's supposed to be the quick news. Thomas Jane is joining Sam Willerton and Colson Baker, aka Machine Gun Kelly. Sure. In a thriller called The Last Son of Isaac LeMay. Jane's going to executive produce as well as star. And Renegade Entertainment, which is his production company, is behind the film. So Tim Sutton's directing, who he worked on Donnybrook, which I'm not familiar with. It is a Blacklist script by Greg Johnson. Set in the Sierra Nevada in the late 19th century, the previously announced project centers on LeMay, played by Warrington, a murderous outlaw cursed with a terrible prophecy, hunting down his offspring to prevent his own murder, and targeting his son Cal, played by Baker, with bounty hunters and enigmatic Sheriff Solomon, played by Jane, on their tail. They're all set on a collision course towards a brutal game of cat and mouse. Okay, so it's kind of a western. I like Thomas Jane. Sam Willerton, less so. He's okay. I mean, I don't hate him, but he's kind of wooden. There's a reason why we've not seen him in much. And yes, he's going to sort of be back again in a big way because eventually these 4 Avatar sequels are going to start pumping out, and he's going to be everywhere all of a sudden again. But he's not that good in the grand scheme of things. I do like Thomas Jane though. So yeah, so it's about him hunting down his last kid. Sounds like a fine sort of grimy, shades of grey, villainous western story where maybe we'll find out that he's not as villainous as he initially seems, or maybe we're just going to be rooting for Thomas Jane the whole time. That's entirely possible too. But there you go. That's The Last Son of Isaac LeMay. So, and that is the movie news for the day. What a shambles it's been. So thank you very much for joining me. Let me know what you thought of any of the stories that popped up on today's edition. You can, of course, get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Support us on patreon.com/mailfuzztv. But, of course, you can support us for free by simply hitting the like button and commenting and subscribing and all that jazz. Thank you very much. And if you didn't get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.